The Troy Trojans are your 2025 Sun Belt champions, taking down the Arkansas State Red Wolves and are headed to the NCAA tournament. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay with us for the Armada Team of the Week later in the episode. All right, we do have a little news out of the Sun Belt. The Cajuns, one of the two teams, at least right now, needing a head coach. ULM, the other one, did hire Houston's Quannas White, originally from New Orleans, I believe. And so got a lot of experience, although not as a head coach. Ton of experience, although not as a head coach. We'll get to that. We'll do the Arkansas State side of this thing, although that's going to seep into this portion of the show as well. But can we just say that was one strange basketball game? It was set up. The first 30 minutes were, I think, what everybody was expecting, going back and forth, right? The first three ball games of this tournament, which is what Arkansas State played, not the first three ball games, but the three games that Arkansas State played in, they got off to slow starts, right? They got off to a slow start against Marshall. They got off to a little bit of a slow start to South Alabama, and they got off to a slow start against Troy. And they just kept on coming and had a halftime lead against Troy, right? And then Troy got off to a start to the second half. And then all of a sudden, Arkansas State's got an 8-point lead, and poof, gone. I mean, gone. And I know a lot of this was free throws. All right. But I want to know what the exact time was, because it was like, was it 11 minutes to go? It was 10 minutes to go. I want to know what time. It was 66-58. All right. So we'll get to this here. 10:07. So like 10 minutes left to go in the game. 10 minutes left to go in the game. Darian Ford hits a three to put Arkansas State up by 8. All right. So that's 3/4 of the game is gone. And Troy has 58 points. They finished with 94. What is that? 36 points? They had 58 through 3/4 of it. They scored 36 in the last 10 minutes. How did that happen? Right? And Arkansas State went ice cold. I know they finished with 81, but they went from 66 with 10 minutes left to go. All right. And let's see how long it took them to get to 76. It took them 10 minutes. It took them 9 minutes. So they scored. So Arkansas State had the 66. It took them. So they scored the 76 point with a minute left to go in the game. 56 seconds. Pinion makes a layup. Makes it 86-76 with 56 seconds left to go. That's how insane this game was. 66-58. And Arkansas State's rolling. They are rolling. I'm just Tayton Conerway started playing better. And that's the other weird thing about it, because the stars hadn't showed up. Conerway got into foul trouble in the first half. Terran Todd isn't doing a thing. DeAndre Dominguez is carrying Arkansas State. Pinion isn't doing a thing. Conerway had like 5. He was like 2 of 9 with like 5 points to begin with. Todd was like 2 of 9 with 6 points to begin with. Conerway finished like 8 out of 19. Like hit his last 6 shots. Something like that. It was a crazy basketball game. And then, again, the mind-boggling thing. Happy to say when I'm wrong. I didn't have a chance to see the post-game show. These are always the toughest post-game shows. And And there's nobody who knows these things better than the coaches and the players. All right. The fans don't accept these as much as the coaches and players because these guys go through it. Okay. They may not accept it. Well, that may not be the right word, but they know it's there. All right. They don't like it. I will rephrase that. They don't like it, but they know losing is part of the game. All right. That's why they get the big money. All right. That's why they get the contracts that they do, because inevitably Kevin Keats for NC State was just in the Final Four last year, and he just got fired. Now he's walking away with $8 million. Can't feel too sorry for him. But anyways, they know that's part of it. And being in a post-game press conference and one of these things is rough. All right. But why Brian Hodgson didn't call timeout in the middle of a 20-4 run? I know he's waiting for a TV timeout, but okay. What are we waiting for? You had 3 timeouts. He had 3 timeouts and the TV timeout. TV timeout's coming. Can use that again. I don't know. All right. But Tayton Conerway took over, went to the basket, and again, it was a little methodical, and then boom, because it went from 66-58 to 66-55, and bam, Troy went right past him. Kind of like, and not that I'm a NASCAR fan, but getting out of line, going around the oval, and, whatever those physics are, you are all of a sudden, second or third, you get out of line, and all of a sudden you're 10th. And that's what happened to Arkansas State. That's a crazy basketball game. The Sun Belt officials had to put themselves into it. Go back and look at it. I went back and looked at the 10-second call. It's not Tayton Conerway who's got to be over half court. It's the ball that's got to be over half court. And the ball was over half court. I don't know how that ref is looking. I don't know what the ref is looking at, because I looked up. Tayton Conerway is over half court at the 20. He was over half court at 20 seconds, and they called it. He anticipated the call, and he was wrong. If you can find me where the replay and show me a picture of it, I'll buy it. But the ball was over half court at the 20. And a lot of times on my radio show, I had a former college official, and like the play clock in college football is really not 40 seconds, but like 41 seconds. So who's ever in charge of that is looking at the game clock and then looking at the snap of the ball. And if the game clock hits 0 and then looks at the snap of the ball, if the snap of the ball is not done and the game clock hits 0, so it's always usually 41 seconds. On this one, he called at like 21 and a half seconds, or 9 and a half seconds. And, officials got to put themselves into it. Didn't mean anything, but some Bell officials got to put themselves into it. Myles Rigsby had a great ball game. Thomas Dowd had a fantastic ball game. Troy really played well when it looked like it was going in the other direction. It really did. I guess Conerway, I said he finished 8-19. He finished 8-17. And again, they had a lot of free throws in the end. They did. That's a ton of free throws. They made 23. They were 22 of 23 free throws in the second half. So that's where a lot of their points came from. But goodness gracious, they had 58 with 10 minutes left to go. They finished with 94. Rigsby was 9 out of 10. Dowd was 5 out of 5. Obviously, Arkansas State can't get back in the game if Troy's going to make all their free throws. So that's how you win those kind of basketball games. So Scott Cross, I didn't think he went to the NCAA tournament, but he took UTA to the NCAA tournament one time. I didn't realize that, but according to Wikipedia, he did. So congratulations to Scott Cross and Troy. They're going to the NCAA tournament for the first time. Well, he's going for the first time since 2008. And Troy is going for the first time since 2017. So congratulations to them. Arkansas State runners up for the second consecutive year. All right, so we'll come back. We will talk about what happened to Arkansas State because, yeesh, that was an ugly 10 minutes. It was an ugly 10 minutes. We will do that after I tell you about Nissan. The Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On College Basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart. From the top-seeded stars to the unexpected upsets, these guys are showcased the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut Team of the Week are the Duke Blue Devils. John Shire's team, led by National Player of the Year candidate Cooper Flagg, just ripped through the ACC, going 19-1. The Blue Devils were plus 434 points in ACC games, the largest point differential by a power conference team in league play since Kentucky in 1953 and 54. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Duke Blue Devils have done here. It's clear that our Team of the Week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of the Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder, and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Once again, the Troy Trojans heading to the NCAA tournament with a 94-81 victory over Arkansas State. And for all that I predicted about, it was wide open. Any team could win it of the top four in Marshall. And I said that, how was I going to put this? That it wasn't going to be 1 versus 2. I knew that. I'm not sure. I didn't think both of them were not going to be there. Also, I appreciate this because I'm so, just the way my mind works, I'm always looking forward. I'm always concerned with usually about what I'm going to say. Someone had to remind me about JMU that I warned, for a couple of weeks because of their schedule. And I even brought it up with Matt Stewart on the preview show, careful about JMU because they had a weak end of the season schedule. So I appreciate the people putting it out there and the fans that are listening and paying attention, maybe more than I am. But although JMU finished the season hot, although they did lose to Texas State at the end, they were kind of ripe for an upset. And I should have been aware of that a little bit more because they hadn't played anybody tough. The only team they had played tough, the 2025 Sun Belt champions, and guess what happened in that game? They beat them by 3, actually. But that was the only team that they played, the tough team that they played. And they'd won 10 out of 11. Their only team that they lost to was Texas State. But I appreciate that for pointing that out. As far as Arkansas State goes, it's got to be a little bit of a disappointing season. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, they again, regular, I'll say it, regular season co-champs, okay? But they had ample opportunity to win it on their own, okay? I'm not going to, I will take away a little bit, okay? They're co-champs. That's fine. Hang the banners. They're co-champions. But, they had already beaten Troy at home. I'm sorry, they'd already beaten Troy on the road and didn't beat them at home, all right? They had a chance to go on the road to solidify a game against Marshall, and they couldn't do it. Then they had South Alabama at home, and they couldn't do that. All right. Arkansas State had every chance all year long to step up and win the big game, and they didn't for whatever reason. I don't know why. All right. Certainly winning the game against South Alabama and Marshall, big wins. All right. Beating those two teams is impressive. That and $5 will get you a small coffee at, Starbucks. You got to step up in the game that matters. That's why when I said South Alabama was the regular season champions, even I admit it doesn't really mean anything because they don't get anything for that. They're the number 1 seed, but that's it. You don't get anything for that. All the other schools can say champions, and sell the hats and the T-shirts, and can get rings and such. But Arkansas State, I got to say, it was a little bit disappointing. They put some NIL money into it, all right, which is the way it is these days. They had a lot of talent. I don't think Kobe Julian had the kind of year that he was expecting. I know he was a little bit banged up. He played pretty scrappy against South Alabama. Let's see what he had in this ball game. 10 points, 4 for 11, 0 for 2 from the three-point line, just 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Usually he goes to the free throw line. He used to go to the free throw line all the time. 4 rebounds, no assists. In a little bit of foul trouble, but that could be because the end, they were just fouling at the end. Let me see what his stats are for the whole year. Do we have his stats for the year? I don't know if we have his stats for the year now. Doesn't seem we have his stats for the year. But I just think it's not like Arkansas State. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Arkansas State had a bad year. Obviously, they had a pretty good season, but a little bit disappointing. All right. They were the clear favorite, being the runner-ups last year. A little bit of a surprise last year. A lot of guys returning, adding Kobe Julian, and finished in a tie for first as a 4 seed. Get to the championship game, beating the team that swept you, and then leading Troy by 8. You were going in one direction, Troy was going in another, and then you switched. And again, I'm sure someone's going to ask Brian Hodgson why he didn't call timeout. I don't know why. I think there was a timeout at the 65, 66 mark. Let's see here. So there may have been one timeout there. Let's see here. It was 63. No timeout. No. There was a substitution at 66, 63. Oh, there was a media timeout at 66, 63. Okay. So there was a media timeout then, but that's only, 5 points. Can't blame them then, but that's a media timeout at the 8-minute mark. Okay. So the next media timeout, or the next timeout, so it went from 66, 63 to the next media timeout, I think was at the 246 mark, was 78-70. You went from up 3 to down 8. You didn't call timeout. 15-4 run. I mean, that's just letting it go. I did read, I think, you know what? This may not have been a read. This may have been a Belichick podcast, maybe an article. But Belichick had a change of heart. Belichick used to like to have the timeouts. And eventually Brady talked him into it. The timeouts ain't going to do me much good if I don't have any time left. So call the timeouts with a couple of minutes left, and I'll manage the minute and a half without timeouts, because 30 seconds with 3 timeouts is not going to do any good. I'll have no timeouts in a minute and a half, and I'll manage the clock. If I don't, that's on me. And eventually Belichick turned. Hodgson was waiting, was trying to save his timeouts for later on. He had a media timeout and all 3 timeouts. He had 4 timeouts left, and he's waiting. So down 8, with under 3 minutes left to go, he still had 3 timeouts. Too late. Too late. He should have called. I'll tell you where he should have called timeout. All right. He went from 66, 63, 66, 65. Dowd made a break. Dowd made a layup and a free throw. That's probably where he should. And then Conerway made a jumper. That's where he should have done it. Or else Darian Ford made a layup, making it 74-70. I mean, it went from 68-68 to 74-68. How about call a timeout there? Somewhere in there. Slow it down. I don't know what he was. Stop. We need a 20. So that's the only thing. And at the same time, and these things happen, obviously the other team is trying to, Pinion had a big ball game against South Alabama. We're going to try and stop Pinion, right? Just like Darian Ford was going to try and stop Conerway, and he did for 3/4 of the game, didn't do it for the last quarter of the game, right? And so there's going to be game plans to, try and slow guys down, and we're going to try and slow down Taron Todd, and we're going to try and slow down Joseph Pinion, and we're going to see if the other guys can step up. And Isaiah Nelson also didn't quite have the tournaments that he had before. 5 points, had 10 rebounds though. But he got slowed down too. But Pinion was 3 of 8. Taron Todd was 2 of 12. Kobe Julian 4 of 11. They only shot 41%. They were up 8. That's the thing. They were up 8. Wasn't up 8 with 2 minutes left to go. They were up 8 with 10 minutes left to go. But you usually don't see a team up 8 lose by 13 either. Yeesh. Not good. All right. So we'll see if Troy can, they're going to be a tough team. They got some size. They got some athleticism. They got some gamers. We'll see if it's a good matchup. We'll see if it's a good potential matchup. Well, maybe they get sent to Lexington. That could help out the Lockdown Sun Belt. You guys know it's all about me. All right. We'll see if they get. I'm planning on going to Lexington anyways, just to be for the basketball, just to be there. Be nice if I didn't have to pay. All right. We'll see. Not that they let podcasters in, but you never know. All right. We'll come back. Cajuns made a hire, and 2 things I like about it. We'll talk about that when we come back after I tell you about Roy. Attention, Sunbelt fans. Ever wish you could directly support the Sunbelt school favorite athletes and be part of their journey? Now you can with Roy, the NIL app that puts Sunbelt fans in control. Before Roy, NIL deals were often handled behind closed doors, and fans like you didn't have a clear way to directly support the players you love. Now with Roy, you can make a real impact and feel closer to the athletes representing Sunbelt schools. With Roy, you get to choose the player you want to support, decide how much you want to contribute, and get exclusive content straight from the athletes that you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. So it's a risk-free way to show your support and make your voice heard. Support your favorite players directly and help shape the future of Sunbelt sports. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Sunbelt school athletes today the way they deserve. With transparency, trust, and real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Ragin Cajuns make a hire. They hire Quannas White, a longtime assistant with Houston. Apparently he played there. New Orleans native, as the press release says, regarded as one of the nation's top recruiters, named the Cajuns' 15th head coach, 8th season with Houston. Past 2 years as the Cougars' associate head coach, will come in Monday, following what I presume is the Big 12 tournament. All right. And will be named head coach in a press conference. We'll see if he's going to, I guess I don't know if he's going to go with I presume he's going to help. I don't know. You got the whole transfer portal thing. We'll see if he's going to be with them. I would presume he's going to still be with Houston for the month, but I don't know. Let's see here. Serving under UH head coach Calvin Sampson, White joined the Cougars as an assistant in 2017 before being elevated to associate head coach in 2023. Relationship goes back 25 years when White played for Sampson at Oklahoma, 2001 to 2003, helping the Sooners to the NCAA 2002 NCAA Final Four and 2003 Elite Eight. If we do want to go see who they lost to in the 2003 Elite Eight, You may want to check that one out. I did not realize Quannas White was on that team. All right. All right. So what I like about this is they did get somebody with a ton of experience. No, it doesn't appear head coaching experience. Let me make sure that is the case. Okay. Seriously. He's just been an assistant coach. All right. I believe that's the case. Let me see here. Coaching experience. He's been an AAU head coach. He is from New Orleans, been at Tulane, Western Kentucky. He's got a ton of he does have a ton of coaching experience. Okay. No head coaching, but a ton of assistant coaching. The reason I like this, he's from the area. He's from New Orleans. Okay. Been in Houston, so he knows that I-10 corridor. But I like that the Cajuns got it done now. Okay. This coaching carousel is starting. All right. Will Wade's name is already, I already mentioned what Kevin Keats with NC State. Will Wade's name has already been mentioned there. All right. The coaching carousel has started. And that the Cajuns got this done, I'm sure it got announced on Monday, but I'm sure it's been done. This name, Quannas White's been, if I heard the name Quannas White, and I don't know anything, that name had been out there. And so I like the idea that they got this done fast because, I mean, Bob Marlin had been let go. It's either at the end of December, beginning of January, right? I think it was at the end of December. Was it McNeese? It was somewhere in there. And so you have a lot of time to get this done. And so you need to get it done fast before everyone else gets it done. And so they did. So that's a good job by Dr. Brian Maggard. All right. Having the ducks in the row, finding out who wants it. You really have a head start before everybody else does. And I think they got the guy they wanted. All right. And they got it done fast because, sorry to put it this way, better jobs are going to open up. All right. Now, meaning when I say better jobs, higher paying and better opportunities to get to the NCAA tournament, right? There's only, no matter what the Sun Belt does, it's a one bid league, right? Can't do anything about that. There's nothing they can do about that right now. So it's a tough league, right? I mean, I saw somebody, complain that, JMU didn't win a championship and that championship is the standard. You expect to win the championship every year? I mean, maybe you do, but that's not really easy to do. If everybody expects to win the standard, everybody expects to win the championship every year. That's kind of a tough standard to live up to, right? I mean, it's a handful of teams. I say that all the time with football because everybody always expects to win it in football, especially in the East. It's tough to do. Cajuns fans always think that in the West, and Cajuns fans should win it much more than they actually have. And they've won it a little bit and gone to the finals, come up short a couple times. Thing is, Georgia State won it a lot. That was the problem. But I like the guy they got, and I like that they got him fast. We'll see. John Hartwell is usually pretty decisive. Monroe, that's a little bit more of a difficult hire. All right, let's be honest. Okay, it is not an easy place to be. You got to want it. All right, we've talked about that with Brian Vincent. John Hartwell's trying to turn that around, talk about getting the community behind you and the culture behind you, trying to change the culture. So that is a whole deal as well. Remember, Keith Richard announced his retirement. They sort of handled it a little bit differently because they were struggling as well. And we kind of want to handle this a little bit differently than the Cajuns did. We don't want to fire you, but Keith, it's kind of time to hang it up. And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. So we'll just carry on through the season, and then, we'll look for a new coach. So I would presume ULM is going to make an announcement here pretty quickly as well. We should hear that. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that by the end of the week. You wouldn't want, all these coaching carousels going to start to go. Yeah. You don't want to get caught up in that. That's what I would think. So we'll see. All right. So we sit and wait. We'll find out where Troy is going to go. Congratulations to Scott Cross and the Troy Trojans. They played a whale of a final 10 minutes. Again, it was just a weird basketball game. The first 30 minutes was exactly the way we thought it was going to go. Nip and tuck looked like that was the way it was going to be, except the stars hadn't shown up. And all of a sudden, Tayton Conerway showed up and then took over and zoomed past the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Troy takes down Arkansas State 94-81. We wait until Selection Sunday to find out who Troy will play. To start and perpetuate a rumor, we may or may not have a football coach joining us this week. We're heading down to Nashville to catch a little SEC action. We'll see if we wait to find that. We may not wait because we'll figure out what we're doing for Wednesday's episode. So that coach may be our Wednesday's episode. So we'll find out. We'll have to think about that depending on what happens. Maybe ULM hires somebody else and that'll be our Wednesday episode. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We're getting to bed at a reasonable hour after staying up, until midnight for the last week. So thanks very much for tuning in. Congrats to Troy. And hey, congrats to Arkansas State. Heck of a run, coming up a little bit short and a little bit disappointing, I understand. But we'll see if Troy can duplicate or maybe surpass what JMU did last year by getting a win. Can Troy make a run to the Sweet 16? We shall see. You've been watching and listening to a Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and we'll talk to you again on a Wednesday.